Well, it's Callie again, and I am going to be talking about the first part of the set visit that took place last fall for the Mortal Instruments City of Bones. Now, Sony pulled out all of the stops, and we ended up in Toronto where they were filming, and it was really something that I hadn't imagined as far as what all this set visit was going to include. That's why I'm splitting up the videos because otherwise I would be talking your ears off for, gosh, probably 20 minutes. When we actually arrived at the set, it was actually kind of funny because all of these bloggers were piled into a van and we kind of spilled out. And the first thing that happened was all of our cell phones, all of our cameras, anything that we had that was electronic essentially got taken up. And I would use the word confiscated, but we willingly gave these things away because we wanted to get on the set. And then they were hidden, which it sounds funny, but they took them up to an office where none of us really were allowed to go, and we were promised we would get them back as soon as we were done, and we did. But sadly to say, we don't have pictures or video of anything that happened on the set other than what they were taking or filming while we were there. So, in place of our cameras and our cell phones, we were given these really cool bracelets. Now, they each say the Mortal Instruments Toronto 2012. And I have, and all of the bloggers have, three colors: the black, the yellow, and the purple. And they each mean something as far as who you are, when you came to visit the set. And then I know some fans actually were kind of scouting out around. And if they were found or if they got to talk to a cast or a crew member, they were given bracelets too. So it's really neat. Something that they did special for people that did visit the set. You walk away with these really cool bracelets, and it's kind of a neat keepsake. So we're in the main office where they are handing us bracelets and taking away our cell phones, and all across the walls are these beautiful pieces of artwork that are actually concept art. And the cool thing about it is that each of them was like a different scene. One of them was a picture of, and I say picture, but it was art. It was like a drawing, a painting of Clary pulling out the mortal cup from the card, from the tarot card. Another was these crazy monsters kind of coming out of this ceiling, and then the other was just a painting of Jason Clary just kind of surrounded by magic. It was really neat. But it was kind of nice to know that whenever anybody was walking on set, whether they were cast or whether they were crew, they were walking into that just that ambiance of getting ready for this story. The first place that we were taken, and mind you, we get there and Cassandra Clare is there, and she went the whole route with us. We went to the wardrobe department. I mentioned earlier that I thought it was going to be like a room with all of the clothes for the movie, and it was, but it was like a hall. It was huge, and it's because there were so many cast members that they are um, giving costumes to for different scenes, and really essentially Gersha Phillips was really working on the whole movie in this one room, so you can imagine how many costumes there were. So when we walked in, we were greeted by Gersha, who is fantastic. She's done countless number of amazing movies, but I have to say that I'm partial to this film as far as her costumes are concerned. But it's partly because I got to see them and touch them, and it was crazy. So Gersha walked us through the department, and one of the first things that she showed us were these amazing character boards, and they were on the wall, and they had pictures of the cast members, but also pictures of all these amazing clothes that she felt were a good fit for each character. And it's not to say that they went out and bought those clothes for the characters, but they were making things like literally on the other side of the room. There were seamstresses and just artists that were working on all of these costumes. So we walk past all of the character boards, and they're beautiful, and then there are these mannequins that are just like standing around, and one of them was all of Magnus's outfit, which they were preparing for the party that was going to be happening in Magnus's apartment. And so a lot of the clothes we saw were for that party scene. And this was a robe with a hood and this huge wide belt. And then right next to it was another mannequin that was small, and it was for Isabel. And it was this beautiful white lace dress with this like really hardcore black belt, kind of rocker black belt around the waist, and it was amazing. Another mannequin had Jace's shadow hunter gear, like it was covered in leather, essentially. And then as we passed by those mannequins, we walked past an office, but I really didn't pay much attention to it because there was this seamstress in front of us, literally sewing up this beautiful fairy costume. I mean, it was gorgeous, and it was just it glittered, it sparkled. It was so funny because all of us just kind of stared and watched this woman sew for about 5 minutes while Gersha was telling us exactly what she was preparing for. But next to where all the seamstresses were working and artists were working, there were these racks and racks full of clothes, and each rack had similar clothing on it. And once we started to get over to where the racks were, you could actually see signage of werewolves, vampires. Like they had them all separated out to the types of creatures that they were, so that when cast members came in, all they had to do was say, what creature they were, and then they knew exactly where those costumes were going to be. So we also saw a ton of really cool, like, uh, party dresses and like more formal wear. And the neatest part about it was is that it actually some of it was vintage, some of it was new, and I thought that was genius, because when you think of this like timeless group of people or creatures or whatever, they wouldn't have a trend, they would just have a style. And so some of the costumes were like very 80s inspired, some were 70s inspired. It was just really neat, and I can't wait to see that scene because of that. But we walked by where some of the artists were working, and they were actually destroying pants. I know this sounds crazy, but they were making like demon pants. It was weird, and they were like painting and messing up pants for these costumes. And as we were watching them, a couple of us turned around, and they had this one rack that was like super tall, probably 6 or 7 feet high, and it had these. It looked like sheets at first hanging on it, but they were actually the City of Bones like robes that the kind of like the monks wore, or going to wear in the movie. And they were aged, and they had the hoods. It were crazy amazing. But the fun part was is that we kind of got to see all that stuff and kind of look through it, and it was so neat. But then one of the highlights for me was that Gersha Phillips actually took us to her office back where we had passed. And as we walked inside, you could see this kind of like a character board in her office, but it had all of the different characters in there, and she kept them there to kind of help inspire her when she was working on their different wardrobes. Now, along with that, I have to tell you that there were a couple of funny pictures on her board. One of them was of Jamie Campbell Bower getting highlights. Yes, he had like silver foil all in his hair. And another one was a photo of Lily, which was really neat. And then, of course, you one thing you have to think about too is that all of these cast members have like headshots. And so all across the top, like almost like a border in her office, were all of the cast members, and just including all of them. I mean, I'm not kidding. It was all the characters from Magnus to Valentine, to Luke. Just all of those cast members. She had their headshots up around the room, and then. One of the surprises that was kind of cool to see in there was she had this huge board that had all of the runes, that could possibly be used in the production. And she had them on this board in her room so she could kind of keep in mind the runes that they would have on their body in addition to the actual costumes they would be wearing. I thought that was so neat. So that is what I saw in the wardrobe department, and you can watch my other videos that I'm going to be talking about the actual sets that we got to see, as well as the props, and then also the interviews. So keep a lookout for those interviews, those videos, and I will be back soon. Thanks for watching.